Hey everybody, this is Ben Stiles here at Vista Roofing. So today we're looking at a really cool project that I'm very excited about. So today we are looking back at the finished product of our standing seam metal roof. This homeowner did some really cool things in front of this house. You can see this portion right here behind me, the carport. When it originally came out, it was just a metal covered carport from to pull his cars under. In the process, we worked with him and the framer to get that all reframed and set up the way it should be. We worked seamlessly with all those different tradesmen that he had out here to make sure we had a final finished product so that once everything was done, we were able to come in and put on this beautiful 50-year standing seam metal roof, which is one of the best roofs you can put on your home. So stay tuned, we're gonna show you a few of the details here. So talking about the important things and the details. So one of my favorite details is very similar to, if you remember back on the stone coated steel roofs, how the drip edge is actually an integrated part of the roof system. So as you see here, this panel comes down, it's actually crimped and curled under so that nothing can enter underneath that row of drip edge. So it seals up the entire roof line here. And then the other cool feature is whenever these panels come down, they're actually crimped and sealed so that nothing can enter into this roof system here. So one of the big things we watch out for, other than roof function itself, is to make sure we're not allowing pests to enter the home. So this system fully seals off the edges of the perimeter of the roof system, keeps anything from being able to enter the roof system here, whether it be water or any living pests in the home. So great little attention to detail, makes a lot of difference. If you're looking here, this is the standing seam. This is where these panels meet. So each one of these panels is an individual panel in itself. It's clicked and locked together and screwed underneath. So we have no exposed screws. So if you're looking at this roof surface, there's no fail points. So the number one fail point on most metal roofs are those exposed fasteners that you see. So those have a rubber grommet on them that when they're exposed to the UV and the heat, they dry out and crack. With this system, all the screws are hidden underneath the panels. Even the screws that hold down the valley pan, the individual panels, the ridge vents, all of those exposed fasteners make sure that our wear points aren't exposed and last as long as possible. This is an exposed fastener system. So this is actually on a shed they have in the backyard, which is what the screw down metal roofs are actually designed for. So underneath each one of these screws you see here is a small little rubber grommet that actually seals that screw head down to the roof, prevents water penetration into here. But as you can imagine, with the heat that comes off this roof system, with the constant UV exposure, that neoprene sleeve is one of the first things that fails. These last, on average, about 10 to 12 years is when we see them need to be replaced. So with this style of roofing system, you're gonna have continuous maintenance throughout the life of the roof, because every time one of these rubber grommets fails, that's a leak point in your home. Whereas with a standing seam metal roof, we have no exposed fasteners, so there's nothing to leak. So we talked about how on the drip edge, it's actually crimped and locked in together to make sure it's a one solid cohesive system. Same thing happens on the valleys. So the valleys are all bent in, crimped, and locked into place, and then screwed in. So there's no chance of penetration or lifting around these panels. So there's no way for anything to enter the roof system here and gain access to either water or pests into the home. So a really well sealed system is gonna last a lifetime. So one of the really cool things about this roof is you see these little ribs that we've built into these panels. So one of the big complaints people have about standing seam metal roofs or metal roofs in general, it's called oil canning. That's where we get these little waves and dimps up and down the roof from the metal expanding and contracting. So especially on a black roof, where we're gonna get lots of movement from the metal, we wanna make sure we build in basically these little crumple zones. So that as that metal expands and contracts, we're controlling where it's expanding, how it's moving, so that we can account for it. So we talked about how this is a non-exposed fastener or a hidden fastener system for the standing seam. So even down to the ridge metal, you think, hey, this is sitting on top. There's no way that this is attached without screws, but it is. So if we look here, this top edge here, again, crimped under, and attached and sealed underneath with a piece of metal going underneath here. It's attached underneath these panels and on top. And then anywhere we do have to really secure something, we use metal rivets. So this rivet is installed out over the panel below. So if any point this does allow water penetration in the future, it links down onto this panel and never inside the roof system. So by protecting this and making sure it's sealed properly secured and crimped to the edges, we prevent any water penetration down into the roof system. So the same thing happens over here on the rakes, you'll see that this rake metal here, again, no screws or no exposed fasteners on the inside or outside of this panel, because again, we have metal clips installed underneath this panel and underneath the outside of this rake edge, so that these actually click and lock into place. And then they're actually sealed here at the top with rivets to prevent them from being able to move. So this seals and protects the entire system and makes sure we don't have any of those exposed rubber grommets that can dry rot and cracks. So if you've been looking at what the next big addition or upgrade to your home is going to be, and you've thought about metal roof as an option, please give us a call. We'd love to come to you, show you the examples of what we've done and what we can do for you, and how we can make your home as absolutely beautiful as possible.